and thank you to FICO for having us today and having the ability to present this pretty impressive group. So, as Kim mentioned, we're going to talk about smart cities and the components within smart cities. But I wanted to take the opportunity to show you a little bit about the digital transformation that we're going to go through over the next 5 years. So if you're not familiar with a zettabyte is 1 trillion gigabytes. So by 2025, there's going to be 175 zettabytes of content data that is going to be stored and transmitted. The device increase is just phenomenal. We're going to go from 10.5 billion devices to 150 billion devices in 2025. Some of those are connected cars. A lot of those things are Internet of Things, IoT devices. And amazingly, there's still 3 billion people out there today, almost 40% of the world's population, that are not connected. Getting them connected is important for a variety of reasons. So when we talk about smart, right, smart versus connected, smart means that devices can share information, they gather information, they can share information, and the utilization of that information leads to significant benefits. You've probably heard the term core or cloud, more than likely, and edge. So basically, in simplistic form, you have your endpoint, which would be your smartphone or, let's say, a connected car. When you make a request, that goes to the edge, and the edge could be cell tower as an example. And then it goes from the cell tower back to the cloud or your data center. And a lot of times the processing is actually done in that cloud or data center. The information then transferred back to the edge and ultimately back to the endpoint. Again, in this scenario, the smartphone or the car. Obviously, there's time delays and latencies in that. If you're talking about autonomous vehicles of the future, those types of time delays could be very, very problematic, particularly in an incident that may occur. So at Practechal Solutions, what we've been working on for the last couple of years is a way to solve a lot of these issues. So we're essentially an edge computing private network platform that hosts applications. What does that mean in layman's terms? So we provide the ability to create a bubble, per se. And when any of the devices within that bubble can share the information, get the information in real time, it's extremely secure, military-grade type security. The techniques that we employ save a lot in storage, which is very expensive, and we save a lot in the bandwidth cost. So effectively, we can support any type of connectivity. If we advance to the next slide, please. So let's talk a little bit about smart cities and the promise of smart cities. So this projection is that by 2026, there'll be $20 trillion in economic benefits. So an economic benefit can be revenue generation or cost savings. You know, an example of cost savings in the smart city here in San Jose, California, they deployed remotely monitored streetlights. That saved them 70% of the cost, significantly reduced the energy usage, and instantaneously reduced the carbon footprint. So a lot of big benefits. They don't have to be revenue generation, but cost savings significantly contributes to the ROI of deploying a smart city. So you'll see in the chart there's traffic management, electric vehicle charging, smart parking, things related specifically to the auto industry, and then as well as you have stores and restaurants and things connected. If we look at the quality of life as an example and how it relates to smart parking, I saw a recent article that a city dweller in a large city will spend 4 years of their life trying to find parking. So security, quality of life is not just having more efficiencies or more things that we can do, but actually adding to safety, health management, and things of that nature. So why haven't smart cities become more prevalent? Well, there's a couple of challenges. Number one is cost. It's not necessarily number one, but cost is an issue. But you can see from this chart, the economic benefits far outweigh the cost, right? So cost over time is not going to be an issue. But you do have politics, right, with municipalities and working who owns what, who deploys it. But all those things will be worked out, and I'll give you some examples of that. I'd like to also give you an example of what we've done in South Africa. So in South Africa, one of our integrators deployed a 46-mile wireless link via TV white space. If you're not familiar with TV white space, TV white space is the old way of broadcasting television, right? So that's been repurposed. So 46-mile wireless link to thousands of people who have never been connected. It only provides 10 to 20 megabits of speed. Now, you might probably be complaining to our service provider, we only got 10 or 20 megabits of speed. And if you use the example of multiple people trying to stream a video, that would be pretty problematic. But our bubble will be deployed in that area so that content will reside locally. So as an example, you could stream a video, a 4K video, instantaneously. But really the purpose of this particular deployment is to extend the reach for distance learning. It's the university is the top 6 university in the world for distance learning. This will provide the opportunity to further educate, connect, and educate people within that community. That bubble will be expanded in next year as well, will be expanded to police departments and other municipalities. Next slide, please. So let's take it down to smart buildings within a smart city. So this is a building in Chicago. It's the second tallest building in Chicago. It supports 800 plus luxury residences. In each of these residences, they're smart homes. They have digital thermostats and digital assistants and customized apps for various services that they provide. It has smart elevators, so you can find the most efficient way to get up or down the elevator for the residents, and obviously saves energy as well. We provide them the ability to do managed services. So I can't give you the exact number, but it has generated incremental revenue and, more importantly, 7-figure incremental net profit. Further, the building has robotic delivery. So if we could go to the next slide, you'll see Charlie on the next slide. So Charlie is a robot, and there are 2 of them on site. Yeah, there we go. So there's Charlie. So this is a secure access residence building. So the delivery will come in. It'll go into Charlie and the robot. Charlie will go to the elevator bank. He will summon the elevator to go to the appropriate floor. He goes up to the appropriate floor. He goes to the residence that ordered it. It waits for the door to open. Once the door opens, Charlie's lid opens and the resident can retrieve their items. So in addition to being very cool, this has provided a significant way to make their deliveries much quicker and free up their staff to do more productive things, if you will. On the next slide, we're going to take it down to smart vehicles, right? So connected vehicles. The auto industry is advancing significantly in the future with automobiles and what automobiles will be capable of. But an interesting stat that I ran across is there are 275 million cars in the US today. So how can we monetize them? So a device could be installed, could be a dealer installed, device can be installed in the vehicle that will provide the capabilities that we're accustomed to today in our daily lives, through a digital assistant or otherwise. So the device is connected. It can provide subscription services like monitoring the vehicle, getting it back to the dealer more frequently, or geofencing, or emergency assistance. These types of devices could be deployed in fleets. And because they're on a platform, we can remotely update them. So if in the future vehicles, these existing vehicles can be remotely upgraded to support the same functionality of the future vehicles that will be coming out from the auto manufacturers. So subscription-based services provide a significant revenue opportunity for vehicles on the road today. And from what we saw Mike previously, the previous presenter, if there's going to be less and less vehicles sold, then it would behoove us to monetize the vehicles that are out there in a more sufficient way. So an example of a box deployed, I would be able to say, okay, car, take me to the nearest Starbucks, order me a single shot grande mocha, and pay for it. So in that scenario, I would be navigated to the Starbucks. I'd pull up to the drive-in window. I would retrieve my drink and then continue on my way. So everything would be paid through the vehicle. There could be revenue share opportunities and how that works. There is learning within machine learning and preference learning. So maybe the car now understands that it's my anniversary, and when I'm driving home, I should pick up some flowers, or I'm approaching town, and there's a special going on at a local restaurant that I may be interested in. So these types of recommendations and revenue share opportunities can actually be pumped through the vehicle and utilized in a variety of ways. And again, these could be deployed through dealer installation, and they could be financed in a number of ways. Let's go to the next slide, if you would. So I borrowed from Toyota a image of their smart city deployment that they're going to do in Japan. In this scenario, it's primarily for employees, right? Employees and their families. The homes are all smart homes, so they have the digital assistants and the digital thermostats. They have robotics and artificial intelligence. Sound familiar, right? That's what we did in the Chicago building, right? Additionally, they'll tie in health monitoring and autonomous vehicles and electric vehicles, and those will all be tied into the network. So how can that be done by auto manufacturers in even a bigger way? So technologies like ours could be deployed and create that auto manufacturer's smart bubble, right? So their smart city for the benefits that the auto manufacturer looks. So the connected car. That, of course, then could be expanded for municipality and other city access. But if we look at the connected car, so parking, we talked about parking, right? 4 years of life, but you could reserve a spot. You want to go to an event at the stadium. You could reserve your spot. You could pay a little bit extra if you wanted to get closer to the stadium. You would approach an unattended gate. The gate would open. It would recognize your car through either a sensor or your license plate. It would then guide you to your specific spot. If you decide to stay longer, you could pay extra, through the app. So a lot of different ways that smart parking and other things could be used in this. So if you look at traffic accidents, right? So in the smart city, you have cameras and you have traffic management. So that video can be sent to the police department. It can be sent to the specific police officer that is going to respond on the scene. It can be sent to the emergency response. In this scenario, it could also be sent to the car, right? So as the car is approaching that particular area of incident, it can navigate you around that incident, which would save you time and money. So these types of solutions, if it was expanded, right? So now you have a smart city for your vehicles. You could tie in restaurants and stores and different things into that. There's also the possibility of breaking through that municipality and politics issue, whereby the auto manufacturer expands and leases that capability or that service to the city and municipality and ties in the other functionalities that would be beneficial to car companies as well. It could be a branded experience, right? So kind of like what you see today in branding of stadiums and things of that nature. So at the end of the day, the auto manufacturers have led transformation since the early 1900s, right? By putting vehicles in the hands of consumers, being able to allow us to move around. And more recently, through your financial vehicles, you've been able to jumpstart the economy, right? By making it more affordable and easier for people to get into vehicles and purchase vehicles. So thank you for that. And we will look forward to helping you with leading that next transformation.